and thanks for joining us. This is Eric DeRosset, along with Darren Archer. We host a little show here called On Deck with DeRo Arch. Primary focus is Missouri sports, college athletics, uh, primarily based in Missouri. We do touch on a few things outside of Missouri, but we try to keep our focus to Missouri colleges and universities and their athletic programs. So, as always, alongside of me today is Darren Archer. Darren, how you doing today?
Doing well. Basketball season's underway, so exciting time of year.
For sure, for sure. Hey, I'm going to hit a few national things here just to start with, and you can just chime in whenever you feel like it. Uh, First of all, might have been an exciting football game or two this weekend in Missouri. You know anything about that?
That's a major understatement.
Yeah,
Holy cow, that was two. If you had heart problems, you probably did not want to be in front of the TV over the weekend when it comes to major football teams in the state of Missouri.
yeah. That game in Columbia on Saturday night was, I mean, it's too broad to say you never seen anything like it, but I just don't know if you've ever seen anything like it. I mean, just the way that thing ended and the twists and turns there at the end, and Mizzou come out on the right side of that. But my goodness, just one surprise after another.
It was, and it was two teams fighting for their conference life and playing for bowl spots, different things like that. And Oklahoma, they look pretty good. I've seen them play a couple times prior, and they looked a little sketchy at times, so to speak. And this past weekend, they had righted the ship and came into, it was a win that they really needed to have, and vice versa. It was also one that Mizzou needed to win.
Yeah, certainly a sort of an element of desperation on both sides. I mean, just both teams just laying it all out there. So really exciting game to watch from a fan perspective, from a coaching perspective. I don't know how those guys do that, but they earned their money that night for sure. Uh, Chiefs in Kansas City, just as exciting in a different way, but just Broncos. First of all, let's start with them. They played really, really well. Bo Nix, I think, is a legit NFL quarterback. Always been a winner. I mean, we knew that coming out of college, but I think he's here to stay as far as NFL terms. What is it about the Chiefs? They always just seem to come out on the right end of that kind of stuff.
Well, they're living life right this year and remain undefeated in the process. And I really thought when Mahomes missed Kelsey in the end zone
Yeah.
uh, there toward the end of the game, you could kind of see what was going to happen. Denver was going to, some people would say, matriculate down the field, and that's exactly what
Yeah.
they did. And I think they had a 35-yard chip shot for a
Yeah.
field goal to win the game, and defense came up huge, special teams came up huge.
Yeah. Just a really great, exciting NFL game. And the Chiefs just keep it interesting every week. So Mizzou and the Chiefs both kind of play that way right now. They kind of win ugly and come out on the right end most of the time. So it's fun watching those two teams play for sure. I'm going to switch sports here. WNBA, we referenced them on our last show a little bit. Couple of different things I've been hearing is that WNBA perhaps could be coming to Missouri. The lead city is Kansas City, and with Patrick Mahomes' influence or financial backing or something along those lines. I read something, I don't know how much truth there is, but I also read something about St. Louis as a possible destination with Jason Tatum having a little influence and possible financial backing there. So Missouri's they can support a WNBA team, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially with if you take a look at, not taking anything away from Jason Tatum, but right now anything Patrick Mahomes touches is turned into gold. And he is an investor in the Kansas City Current, their women's professional soccer team, and they've made the playoffs and have had a really, really good year. And um, hats off to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, for reinvesting in the community and you know, he's put his money where his mouth is, with investment in the soccer team, and it sounds like he and his wife are very, very interested in investing in a WNBA team in Kansas City. And boy, what better person could you have as a partial owner, team owner, what have you, whatever role he determines to play in that. Um, I mean, what a name the WNBA can throw out. Last week we talked about the financial woes of the WNBA losing $40 million last year,
Right.
and to bring in somebody like him with star power and the name recognition that he has, I think would only help the WNBA.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I don't have a preference between St. Louis, Kansas City. I do have sort of some fond memories of NBA basketball in Kansas City in terms of the Kansas City Kings. I really enjoyed those teams, and that was really before the NBA soared in its popularity. I mean, that was just about the time Bird and Magic Johnson were entering the NBA, and the Kings had Tiny Archibald for a while there, and Otis Birdsong was there, and Sam Lacey and some guys like that. So privately, I'd kind of like to see a professional basketball team in Kansas City again. I think that'd be neat. So switching gears to college football, those rankings are out today, I believe. And Darren, I think you follow these a little bit closer than I do, but Oregon's still on top, I believe. The top five is rounded out in this fashion: Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Indiana. They take their they take their team in the top five for the first time. So that's interesting. Miami of Florida lost. They dropped from 5th to 12th with their loss. When Texas lost, they only went down 4 spots. So I'm not saying any of that's right or wrong. It's just interesting, what a one loss maybe does to one program and then not so much to another.
Yeah, and I think it's all based on the opponents that they play. You know, Georgia Tech beat Miami, and Georgia Tech was, I believe, 5-4, just barely above 500. And I think that win actually propelled them into being eligible for a bowl play. So what a game! I mean, that made them a lot of money
Yeah.
by beating Miami. But when you get to Texas, you take a look, and they played Georgia, lost at home to
Right.
Georgia, and you're dealing with a little different dog, pun intended, so to
Right.
speak. And
Right.
um, it's going to be interesting to see how this playoff format figures out in the long run, because you're going to have teams that will be idle. And this happened in rare occasions with the with the 4-team playoff system, but you're really going to have a lot of teams that can play that will be in a league championship or conference championship type game that could play themselves out of a spot, and teams not playing in a championship game by virtue of somebody losing could find themselves in a spot in one of those 12 spots. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, especially come conference playoff time.
Agree. And that it is, and we've discussed this before, but it seems like you're more dependent than ever on what somebody else does in terms of who they play, who they lose to, or who they beat, and what time frame that takes place. Even
Yes,
it may be different in November than it would have been in September. There's always been a little bit of that, but it seems like that's magnified with the 12 team setup this year.
absolutely. And hey, there's I think if you take a look, who was ranked number second? Who's number 2 right now in the nation, DeRo?
Ohio State, I believe.
Ohio State, and they have a loss. There's a lot of 1, 2, and even 3 loss teams that are inside that top 25, so to speak. One slip
Right.
up, and there could be a lot of movement up and down the lineup. And Your strength of schedule of who you play is going to really play a big part in who makes it, who doesn't. It's starting to resemble basketball
Yeah.
in a sense, to where now, um, you can't go schedule patsies and then go play a tough conference. You're going to have to
Right.
pick up a tough game or two non-conference wise. And I mean, you think about the SEC; those guys are just beating the dog out of each other,
Yep.
And to still be in a position where you possibly have to go outside the conference and pick up a nationally ranked team. That's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to call them wild cards. That's too strong, but Indiana and then undefeated BYU, you throw those two in the mix. And hey, it just gets really complicated with those undefeateds in there that are seemingly considered not as formidable, perhaps, as your Penn State, Ohio State, Texas types. So if either one of those teams happen to lose a game, it'll be interesting to see how far they fall and see if they bump out of that top 12 scenario.
Yeah, BYU just about lost one Saturday night.
Yeah.
They played Utah and kicked a field goal to win at the end of the game, kind of a walk-off field goal, if you will. And so they were kind of living on the edge a little bit the other night. I watched that with a little bit of interest to see, not hoping that any team would lose, but what would happen if BYU would have been beaten by Utah. And Utah, I think, was either a game below or above 500. So, once again, it's going to be interesting to see as we roll through and injuries start to accumulate with some of these teams, and just how things are going to play out over this next month or so, heading into conference playoff time.
Absolutely. And in our second segment, we will discuss football at length in terms of our in-state teams, but obviously these national rankings affect Mizzou, and so we wanted to sort of throw those out to our listeners just to kind of establish that baseline, and then when we come back and talk Mizzou football, certainly that figures in to Missouri's equation and their future coming up. So. Let's switch gears here a little bit and let's talk about some in-state sports, some volleyball, perhaps. We have some soccer news. So just a lot of things going on. It is that crossover again that you and I have talked about with, volleyball's finishing up, college football's going on, and then college basketball is in the air. So there's a lot of information today. So we're going to hit on some highlights, and Darren, I'm going to throw it your way part of the time. I've got some information. I'm going to let you chime in when you want. Start with some NAIA volleyball. We've done a pretty good job of keeping this in our sights, and so NAI volleyball, Central Methodist. They're coming in at 20 plus wins, 25 plus wins. They are currently playing in the Hart Conference Tournament. Semifinals are tomorrow night, which would be Tuesday, 11/12. And I think they play Mid-America Nazarene, I believe, on one side of the bracket. Park College is on the other side of the bracket. They are winners of 9 straight. And they play Benedictine tomorrow night. And I believe that championship would be set for Saturday. So there is a chance that 2 Missouri teams could come out playing for that conference championship on Saturday.
Yeah, and this has postseason implications written all over it. And on the last national rankings, Central Methodist was number 21 in the national rankings, and Park was receiving votes. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Park beat Central Methodist last week?
Yes, just in the last week or 10 days, Park beat them head to head. So,
right. So both teams may be playing for their postseason lives throughout that tournament.
Yeah. Another volleyball team in state that we've sort of mentioned a few times, but they just continue to get hotter and hotter, and that's Mizzou volleyball. About 10 days ago or so, they beat Texas. And Texas was if I'm not mistaken, they were the national champions last year. And they were ranked top 10 this year. So a win over Texas for Mizzou volleyball was huge for their program.
Absolutely. What a statement win. And currently they are 9-2 in conference play and sit second in the conference. So they've kind of positioned themselves for postseason play as well.
Yeah. So I think they play number 22 ranked Florida here in the next few days, maybe this weekend. And so they too have won 9 straight at Mizzou. So they're playing really, really well. Good luck to the Mizzou ladies there in their volleyball program, and congratulations to them for a really good run so far. Evangel volleyball sets at 22-5. They play on Tuesday, November 12th. They'll play number 6, University of St. Mary's. That game, I believe, is in Springfield. So that's a big match for them. Kind of switching gears to some soccer. I did see where Lindenwood women won their soccer conference championship. You probably have a little more information on this, but I think they were ranked or picked 9th preseason in their conference and won the whole thing. So congratulations to Lindenwood. So I think there's some other soccer news you might throw out there to our viewers.
Yeah, quite a bit. St. Louis University. We've talked about them off and on throughout the year. They just won the Atlantic 10 conference as we speak yesterday. And they have received a number 8 seed and will host Kansas in the first round of the NCAA Division I women's soccer tournament. So congratulations to them. I know Missouri Valley wrapped up on the women's side, conference championships. So, and that's just to name a few. There's a lot of conference champions. And we've talked about how big soccer is in the state of Missouri, especially in the metro Kansas City, St. Louis area. And these local schools, especially a lot of the D2 NAIA schools, do a great job of keeping these kids in state. And I think that's why you see the results that you do with a majority of the soccer programs in the state of Missouri.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is rich soccer tradition for sure in those areas. And it comes through, it shows up in the results. So congratulations to all those teams. Before we head to break here, I did want to mention a couple of milestones in the area of college basketball here in Missouri. Colin Parker at Columbia College scored his 1,500th point. You and I wouldn't know anything about that, but congratulations to Colin.
Absolutely. I shot enough to score 1,500, but never quite got there.
Yeah. Hey, that's a lot of points. 1,500 points is a lot of points.
Yes, it is.
So shout out to Colin. Neither one of us know who Colin is, but apparently he can score it a little bit. So congratulations to him. Women's basketball coach at Missouri Valley, Ben Lister, recently got his 250th career win. They've had some milestone coaching wins at Missouri Valley this year. Soccer coach up there, Coach Simich, won his 300th match. And now Ben Lister, the women's basketball coach, winning his 250th career game. So lots of winning going on at Missouri Valley right now. So congratulations to Coach Lister, and best of luck to you going forward. Well, I think we're going to head to break, and when we come back, we will talk about college football. There is a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack there. Excited to visit with you a little bit about it, Arch, and we'll just dive into it and get it figured out. You are watching On Deck with DeRo and Arch. Please join us after these messages. We'd love to see you back.
Hi, I'll have the avocado toast minus the avocado.
So, toast.
Yeah. Everything is so expensive these days.
Hey, Chevy gets it. That's why they're keeping prices down to earth, like on the most affordable EV in America. A super strong and capable Chevy truck.
And a high-tech Chevy SUV.
Why is Chevy making affordable vehicles connected by OnStar? It's so together we can do more.
We believe banking should make your life greater. It starts with affordable options to meet today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. From smart account options that fit your style to flexible loans for what comes next. It means convenient ways to access and manage your money whenever you need it and wherever you're headed. Most of all, it takes great support. Someone you can count on for trusted guidance and to be there for you every step of the way. Great options, great convenience, great support for life. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters.
Welcome back with us. This is segment 2 of On Deck with DeRo and Arch. Thanks for joining us. If you missed the first segment, please go back and check that out. We'd love for you to take that in with us. Before we go any further, I'm going to give Coach Archer, a chance to tell you a little bit more about where you can find us and the platforms that are available to visit us. So, Darren, why don't you go ahead with that?
You bet. Give us a follow on Twitter at DeRo, capital D, small e, capital R, small o, _ on deck. And also at Missouri _sports. You can follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Any programs that you miss, any of our programs, Huddle Up, Friday Night Live, High School Game Day, be sure to check out our SoundCloud for our podcast that air weekly. So give us a follow. We sure appreciate it.
Absolutely. There's a multitude of ways to participate in this with us. And so please do that. We are switching gears to football. I am going to start with, and I hope I have this information right, Missouri Baptist football. They are presently 6-3, and I read somewhere where those 6 wins this season represents their highest win total of any season in their program. So if I have my information correct, huge shout out to Missouri Baptist and the football program there. That is great stuff for them. And you and I have both been on that side of it, where you're coaching a program or playing in a program that's sort of searching for that success or that sustained success at least. And so hats off to Missouri Baptist. And we'd love to, if there's anybody from Missouri Baptist out there listening to us, we'd love to find out more about your program. So, give us a shout, and we'd love to visit with you and maybe even bring on some of your people and interview them and that kind of thing. So, shout out to Missouri Baptist. Congratulations. You're doing great things. Keep it up. We're going to move to NAIA football. Evangel, losers of 2 straight against 2 really good football teams. They had one against Friends about 3 games ago and a big one, and then have dropped 2 since then. So that puts them at 3-2 in the conference. Is that right, Darren?
I believe so. And they played a very, very good, I believe, Southwestern team and lost 21-3 over the weekend. So it may be a little regrouping time for Evangel. They probably need to win out to put themselves in a position to make postseason play. But one thing we know for sure, this is a battle-tested group, and they'll pick up the pieces and be ready to move forward.
Yeah. Next opponent, I believe, is Bethel, if I have that right.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's at Bethel. So that's the next opponent for Evangel. Division II football, Central Missouri State. They are coming on at the right time of the year. 2 weeks ago, they beat Pitt State, number 1 ranked Pitt State at the time. This past Saturday, they beat ranked Emporia State, 45-31. So 2 ranked wins in a row for Central Missouri State. They are kind of who we thought they might be, as it turns out.
Absolutely. And they played a very tough non-conference schedule. And that's tough to do and turn right around and start facing MIAA foes.
Yeah.
The likes of which I think there were 4 teams ranked that were nationally ranked at one point in time, and another receiving votes. So that's darn near half your conference, at least being mentioned in those national rankings. And so they're kind of clicking on all cylinders at the right time.
Yeah. their offense is clicking for sure. I think the information I have here is they rank number one nationally in first downs and number one nationally in passing yards and number two nationally in total yards offensively. So they know what to do with football, it sounds like. And that's starting to show up a little bit. You know, to beat Emporia and to beat Pittsburgh State, like you got to put some points on the board. I mean, because those schools know how to score themselves. So you're going to have to put some points up. So be interesting to watch Central the rest of the way. I think they have Missouri Southern this weekend at home, and then that's the end of their regular season slate. Division I football, Lindenwood played Southeast Missouri in the game ball brawl, I think is what it's called, or something like that. Lindenwood wins over Southeast. Great win for Lindenwood football program. What I don't know all the specifics about their program history. I think you know a little better than I do. Tell me a little bit about the significance of what that win represents for them.
I think this is their second season across the board in Division I sports. They used to be a member of the GLVC and were Division II, and then they made that jump into Division I, into the Ohio Valley Conference, and that is just a huge win for Lindenwood and their program. And as a result, SEMO was number 6 in the national rankings. They dropped all the way to 13 after that loss. And this wasn't just a walk-off field goal type win. They got them pretty good. And 24-12, I think they doubled up SEMO. So great win for Lindenwood, program changing type win.
Yeah. Obviously, both those schools are in state, so we're not rooting for one against the other. But just in terms of Lindenwood, as you isolate them specifically, a great win for them. And so, congratulations just to them for that growth, and not necessarily graduation or not. Congratulations on the win over Southeast, but just an acknowledgement of, hey, that's a significant win in their program.
Absolutely, and this is starting to become a rivalry. You take a look at women's volleyball. I believe right now SEMO and Lindenwood are 1 and 2 in the conference standings, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe they play a doubleheader this weekend.
Oh, wow.
So, and that could have conference finishing,
right.
Implications. So, heating up to be a good rivalry there, DeRo.
Yeah, I like it. So, congratulations to Lindenwood on that football win. Let's go to Mizzou. We're going to finish with Missouri State. Let's go to Mizzou first. In the first segment, we sort of talked about the national scheme of things in terms of college football and the landscape there and just all the unknowns. Missouri just kind of keeps screwing that up in one way or the other. This week, they pushed it back the other direction to where, okay, now do they sort of begin to fit again in that top 12, and how far are they away from that? Big win for them over Oklahoma. Throw the records out the window. To beat Oklahoma in Missouri terms is a good one. We'll start there.
Well, to win it the way that they did, that's what's even more amazing. I mean, this was a slugfest, and with about 2 minutes remaining in the game, you're kind of thinking, well, Mizzou let one get away here, and how the tides turned. That was a great game, fun to watch. Both teams were kind of fighting for different reasons. Mizzou is fighting to mathematically, I guess, stay within that hunt of the playoff 12, and Oklahoma just needed a signature win. They've struggled a little bit this year, but they certainly did not look like a team that has had the season kind of that they've had this point in time in the season. I've seen them play a couple times. They look pretty rough. I know they're going through some quarterback issues and trying to figure out, who they're going to go with. And their young kid, their freshman, is playing with some injuries. And so they're kind of doing the double switch. And so great win for Mizzou. Mathematically, I think it kind of keeps them being mentioned, so to speak. And that's where you want to be this time of year. As you're winding down and games are winding down, they play South Carolina, who is an awfully dangerous team coming up this weekend. And South Carolina, they're for real.
Yeah. Better not take that one for granted.
No.
And you don't do that anyway in that conference, but it sure would be easy to let down and sort of, just take a breath, and then all of a sudden they beat you, type deal. So, and you and I haven't talked about this before, so I'm just going to put you on the spot. So Missouri's losses, okay, on the scoreboard were bad losses, right? 41-10, 34-0. Like, look into your NCAA crystal ball that you have there. Do the type of losses affect, where they figure in? In other words, if they'd have played those games a little more competitively, would that put them a little more in the conversation, or does that matter?
Well, I think it matters. You take a look at where the two losses occurred. And like you said, they were not good losses, if there is such a thing, but possibly two of the top 5 or 6 toughest places to play in college football, at College Station and down in Alabama, and Alabama found their way against Mizzou. And you look at what they did to LSU. Alabama may have, they're playing like a team that is playing with their hair on fire and playing for their playoff life. It's like somebody flipped a switch. They're starting to get some things figured out with the new head coach, and they're going to be a tough out. If they run the table from here on out, I've got to think Alabama's in. It's going to be interesting. Once again, we keep talking about this, but as the season starts to wind down, Mizzou cannot afford another loss. I mean, simply put. And then I think it kind of gets back to that basketball scenario to where you've got to start scoreboard watching, so to speak, and hoping that there's some other teams that lose, and that Texas A&M and Alabama keep winning, so that hopefully you're moving up that scale. So there's a distant relative relationship between the FBS playoff system now and what the college basketball tournament field of 68 or 1,000 or however many they're in there now. But there's that correlation there that it's becoming similar.
Well, I know one thing. I'm going to start a campaign for you to be on the NCAA like selection committee and some of those types of people. I think you do a great job.
I want nothing to do with it. You couldn't pay me enough money. Could not pay me enough money. I mean, that's got to be a very, very tough job, because regardless, you're going to leave 2 or 3 teams out that by all means could be in.
Yeah. And then you do have to answer for that. I mean, people put a microphone in front of your face and they ask you about it. And so, wouldn't want that job either. But if they call me on the phone, I will recommend you. How's that sound?
You do that.
I'll do that.
You do that. It'll give me somebody else to deny and say no.
Yes. So Mizzou, South Carolina this week, and then finish with Mississippi State and Arkansas. So just another week in the SEC in terms of football. But yeah, the national landscape, Mizzou, you have to think they put themselves back in the conversation. Whether it gets them in the top 12 or not, that remains to be seen. But congrats to them for a hard-fought win. The quarterback, he taken some heat in the last week or 2 weeks, and me personally, I was just happy for that guy. And by everything I've heard from him in terms of interviews and quotes from him, he's a team first guy, and the locker room had kind of rallied around him. So congratulations to him, and just to sort of get that monkey off his back.
Yeah, I think they've got duct tape and baling twine on his ankle just to hold it, keep it connected to his leg. He's showing a lot of grit going out there and even playing right now.
Yeah, he is. Let's go to Missouri State. What a season for them. Let's just start there. I don't think either one of us saw it coming, and maybe inside the locker room doors, maybe Missouri State saw it, but from a third person point of view, I don't think we saw this one coming.
Not to this extent. I mean, I think quietly everybody in Southwest Missouri was hoping. Ryan Beard is a very likable guy, and hey, he's got those kids ready to run through a wall for him. And it doesn't hurt when you have the quarterback that he does. And I saw today where he was named Conference Player of the Year yet again, or Conference Player of the Week yet again. There's some awfully good teams in that conference, which obviously the next couple of games, which we're going to talk about, are coming up. I think that will be a great measuring stick to see where they're at. The only sad thing is that with Missouri State making that jump to Division I, they are ineligible for the FCS playoffs this year. So they're basically playing for pride right now. And when you play for pride, you can make that become a great recruiting tool to kids that you're trying to get in to even better your program for when they hit the FCS level.
Yeah. And mentioning recruiting, boy, the name slips me, but I saw where they signed somebody out of the St. Louis metro area just the other day. So yeah, those things certainly go a long ways, and you got to love the in-state recruiting that they seem to be doing as well. They are 8-2, 6-0 in the conference. Not sure on this, 14th ranked in the nation. Is that right?
They are currently 14th, and SEMO slipped to 13th. So you've got two in-state schools sitting at 13 and 14, the NCAA Division I FCS playoff system.
You mentioned the quarterback, Clark. He this week 481 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's not bad.
Day at the office.
That is not bad.
Seems like he puts those type of numbers up every weekend.
He does.
And like I said, that's in a tough FCS conference.
Yeah. See, he's really playing well. I mean, he's just. So you mentioned some upcoming games they have this week. They play at number 1 North Dakota State. I mean, it is what it is, so to speak. It's two teams that are really playing well. MSU's hot. North Dakota State's played well all year. If I have this right, I mentioned on a previous show, I believe North Dakota State played Colorado perhaps earlier in the year and lost by 5. And Colorado is ranked now in their setting. So big one for Missouri State this week. Absolutely.
And they're playing with house money right now. I mean, if we're realistic about things, hey, the pressure's on North Dakota State to get the job done, and they would nothing better to go up there and play spoiler role and hand them their first loss. So it'll be a fun game to watch from afar to see how things turn out this weekend.
I actually meant to check the weather for North Dakota before we came on the air.
I believe they have an arena. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're indoors. Very nice facility up there.
Yeah, very nice. Following that game this week, they turn around and play South Dakota State, which is also ranked top 5 in the nation. So that game is in Springfield.
Yeah.
So the next 2 games, North Dakota State, number 1, top 5 South Dakota State the week following.
Yeah, what a great opportunity to host the top 5 nationally ranked team at your house. I believe that's the last game of the season. Yep. And, your postseason you're not going to basically have a postseason. So just lay it on the line and go play and have fun. And they got a tough 2 weeks back to back to finish this season off. But man, winning one of those games would be great. But boy, could you imagine if they won both?
Yeah, and I was going to mention that. I was going to mention, if they split those, that's a success just in terms of the house money concept that you just mentioned. If they go 1-1 in the next two, you got to believe that that's success. Obviously, the coaches and the players, they want that 2-0, and they want to finish undefeated in the conference, and that's what they're playing for. You mentioned what they're playing for, pride, but they also, they could go undefeated in their conference if they win these next two. So. Really good things going on at Missouri State in terms of their football. Good luck to them in a really big one this week. Win or lose this week, it's definitely been a good run, and they can come back and get that next one the following week. So good luck, Missouri State Bears. We're pulling for you this week. Well, I think I've kind of exhausted my football notes. Anything to add in terms of football, Darren?
No, football's wrapping up. A lot of volleyball tournaments are being played now through up and down the line, and especially with the NAIA and NCAA Division II. I believe their tournaments start up this week. So fall sports are starting to wrap up, and that means basketball is on its way.
Yeah. I've been seeing a few scores here and there. Watched a little bit of KU game the other night, Friday night on TV. So and basketball is here, and always a fun time. I've said it before, but I love the intersection of college football and college basketball when those things are kind of hitting at the same time. It's a really good time. So, Darren, I appreciate your friendship. Number one, appreciate the chance to work with you on this show. And those of you that don't know Darren Archer, he is one of the good guys in this world. And so he does a lot for Missouri sports at the high school level and college level. He's an excellent coach, and some of these platforms and these shows that he's doing are just really good things. And he is a sports guy that just loves to promote accomplishments by players and coaches and teams and programs. And so, Darren, I haven't said this on the air yet, but thanks for all you do. Thanks for what you do to me, with me as a friend, and just what you do for Missouri sports.
You bet, buddy. Couldn't think of anybody better to do it with. So let's keep having fun and hopefully get some information out for our people throughout the state of Missouri.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. Darren mentioned earlier the ways that you can contact us. We do want to hear from you. So please, that's not an empty invitation. If you have a story or somebody that you think needs recognized, or a program or coach, please let us know, and we'd like to interview those people and promote your program and players and coaches. We'd love to do that. So please reach out as you can. We appreciate you joining us. For Eric DeRositz and Darren Archer, you have been watching DeRo Arch. Thanks for joining us.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.